So if you haven't heard the term third-party food safety audit, essentially what's happening is that there are private organizations that have now made it a point to audit different manufacturing facilities against a certain criteria, and they give you a rating and a certification at the end. The two most common in my experience are SQF and BRC in terms of these different auditing schemes. Right here are the 10 to date, the 10 current auditing schemes that are recognized by GFSI. Now, I will like to mention that there are other auditing schemes that are not GFSI recognized, but if you are looking to get to the highest echelon of food safety programs and really making sure that someone who's auditing you is recognized from a global standpoint, I highly recommend that you opt for a third-party audit through a GFSI recognized scheme. A lot of retailers are requiring either one or both of these, and if you haven't had anybody mandate these from you, I highly encourage you to get on the boat now and start preparing and understand what the gaps are that you may have and how long it's going to take you to get here. Now, you can obviously choose which one you want to go for and when you want to go for. A lot of people ask me, how much time for us to prepare? Say you've only had a general food safety audit, or you've never had an audit, and you're really understanding, okay, what are the resources we need to allocate around getting ready for this? I would say on average, at minimum, a year to prepare. These are for some very lofty food safety standards, and there's a lot of detail across each and every section. So I know SQF, for example, if you go straight to their website, they do offer their current scheme. So you can actually even start preparing now. You don't necessarily have to pay for any service. You can just start this as a part of your internal program until you're ready and confident to go for one of these third-party audits. Now, I know some organizations choose to do more than one, so you don't have to choose one of these, you can choose multiple. And something to keep in mind is your specific micro category. So say you're working in produce, or say you're working in agricultural commodities, very unique in farms. There are certain schemes that focus specifically on the produce industry. I know SQF, for example, does have a specific section around auditing on produce specifically. So just keep that in mind as you're starting to recognize that you may perhaps want to go for one of these third-party audits, how to get started. Now that we've talked about what GFSI is and how third-party audits have kind of come to play from the foundation of GFSI, let's talk about who does the auditing. This is really important information because I myself didn't know a few years back that you can't just call up one of these companies and ask them to audit you. There are actually organizations and companies called certification bodies, which are the private companies that do the auditing themselves, so that they're an isolated entity. You can find certification bodies through your own research. SAI Global is one that I work with a lot, but there are a lot under the sun, and so it's up to you. If you have previous experience with working with a certain certification body and you're happy with the service they've provided for you, call them up and ask them, can you audit against SQF? Can you audit against BRC? We want to have a third-party food safety audit that is recognized by GFSI. And then lastly, getting into how do you know what's right for you? We talked about whether you're a specific category like produce, and you want to look into GFSI recognized audits that are produce specific, right? So before you jump in and say, hey, I want to do SQF BRC, make sure that you understand what criteria and how you can get the best audit for your manufacturing facility and industry. Ask around your organization. Perhaps somebody that works for you already has gone through one of these audits and is familiar, say, with SQF, BRC. And if they do and they have experience, perhaps that would be one of the reasons as to why you would step up and say, you know what, we have someone who's gone through this before with another company, say, and we're happy to go through this again. So talk within your organization. We talked about how the two most common across the manufacturing facility tend to be BRC and SQF, so that's a good starting point. And we'll move on. We talked about how to begin. So if you haven't done this already, or say you've already had one, you weren't you didn't really like your score and you're ready to get another, talk within your organization, make sure that everybody's on the same page. A lot of times what I see in my experience is that, say, upper management is wanting to adhere to, we're in March now, say a June audit for SQF, but maybe you don't even have a QA manager yet, or maybe you only have a QC tech. Maybe you don't have a robust enough team and resource to really achieve what you're looking for. I encourage you to make sure you set realistic timelines. It's very important, because sometimes I have been observant of companies who try to go for this the first time around, and they haven't prepared sufficiently, and unfortunately they don't pass their first time around, which is a big bummer, because a lot of times the reason why organizations do this is retailers are asking them to do it, right? And you're waiting to sell your product through this distribution chain into this huge retailer. And if you put all the resource together and you try your best, but you really knew that it was way above your head, it's not an ideal situation to be in, right? So make sure you have realistic timelines. We talked about how this can't be done by one person. Make sure you have an integrated cross-functional team in preparing for this. And then lastly, reach out for help. Don't be shy. A lot of these organizations have trainings as well. SQF has training, and you can really understand how to lead a company in getting ready for these.